Hey guys, Shot the Monkey here, bringing you another review from World of Tanks Blitz, this time of the Tier 3 British medium tank, the Vickers Medium Mark III, or Medium 3 as it's abbreviated to in the game. So, what do I think of the tank? Honestly, absolute gem at Tier 3. I've thoroughly loved this vehicle. I loved grinding my way through it on the way up progressing through the tech tree, and I've loved every time I've played it and bought it since I've actually grinded through it and completed it. As you can see, got quite a lot of experience on this thing from just playing it after completing it. Also fully kitted out with provisions because at this point, hey, why not? So what do you need to know about the Medium 3 for using it effectively in a game? Honestly, it's not quick. It's acceptable mobility. The biggest gain that you're going to have from this thing is just the stupid amount of hit points that you get, which I believe is 520. Yep, 520 hit points. Armour is adequate. I wouldn't even call it acceptable. You can bounce shots, usually from low caliber auto cannons or 20mm auto guns if you angle the thing from the front. The front turret is the best place to do that. Side scraping is also an option, but again only with low caliber auto cannons, so really you just might as well avoid it and just go for general kind of corner angling tactics. The biggest shining point for me for this thing is this gun, the QF 2-pounder Mark 9. That rate of fire coupled with the penetration is absolutely devastating to the majority of vehicles you run into. It's very rare you ever need to use armor-piercing composite rigid with this tank, but you have a ridiculous ammo capacity, so you can take more than you'll ever need of armor-piercing composite rigid and still have enough regular armor-piercing to suit you for any game. I don't know if I'm not aware that I've carried for this. Well, I've performed well with it, because with that rate of fire you can do some serious module damage to tanks. It's really easy to take tracks off of vehicles, to set engines on fire, to destroy engines, to take out crew and other modules. And honestly, even if you're not effective, just being shot with this many rounds per minute out of a gun like this is quite intimidating. There's been plenty of tanks where I've shot at them and not been able to get effective fire at them, but the mere fact they're being hit, regardless of it bouncing, and being hit that often, has forced them to fall back into cover and made them entirely ineffective. So you can even go for like more of a suppressing fire role with this thing, of just putting fire into a bush that you know was occupied, that a tank destroyer's been shooting out of, or behind a building or behind a rock that a tank might have been taking cover behind. So it's entirely possible. As for upgrades for this thing, what would I suggest? Pick up the engine first. You need it because it's not quick to begin with. From there, turret upgrade and the 2-pounder Mark 9 gun. You can use the 6-pounder on this tank. It's still a viable choice. You do lose out on penetration, but you gain quite a bit in damage. However, it's not as quick to fire and it's not as accurate. So with this gun you have to take a bit more of a passive playstyle and a bit more of a campy game than you can with the 2-pounder, which allows you to, if you've got in a situation to bully other tanks, like things like T-46s, T-26s, Chihars, some of the Panzers that you'll run into, you can really just go out of your way to just bully them and just to drive straight at them and just fire this thing as soon as it's reloaded, and you'll pen shot through the front of the tanks, no problem. Anything else I can recommend for this tank? Not really, with it being a tier 3, it's one you'll easily breeze through. I would recommend putting camouflage on it and picking up consumables, because it is quite an easy target to spot and hit, especially from the side and from the front, because that profile is massive. The rear is a bit of an harder target to hit. If you're being shot at from the side and your rear is poking out, it is a bit of a harder target. And the engine isn't too big, although there is 2 of them in here, so you do take engine damage quite a lot if you're shot in the back of the tank. From that, equipment, personal choice if you ever want to bother with it on this tank. If you are going to keep the tank, gun rammer to increase that rate of fire, because gaining an extra 1.5 or 1.49 rounds a minute is always nice. Vitality upgrades have gone for improved modules just to genuinely give the tank a bit of extra durability. Also, ramming damage. If you can get away with doing it, do it. There are very few light tanks you run into at your tier that are heavier than you. This tank I think weighs close to about 18 tons. A T-46 for example is 15, and you have roughly similar armour on the front of the vehicle, so if you can get a head-on ram with somebody, unless it's in something like a D2 or an actual heavy tank at this tier, take it, especially with this arm, because you'll always come off better than him. Lastly, for specialisation, improved view range. The camo value on this tank is terrible, so while going for camouflage net might be an option, this will only really do you any good when stationary, And as of course, as I mentioned with my gun, I like to go out and buddy some people, so sometimes just having the better view range is more valuable, because you're not relying on being stationary to get the most out of the camouflage net, as you would be. View range is just, all the time. If you're on the game, you've got improved view range. That's why I've taken it. I haven't picked anything up for tier 2 equipment. I don't think I will. I don't think the tank is going to be worth much doing that, spending spare parts on. I'd rather keep that for a higher tier vehicle. With that said, I think that's all I really need to cover. I'm going to let you guys enjoy the 2 battles I've got lined up for you. And take care, and hope to catch you again next time.
Time to roll out. Enemy fuel tank is hit. Another one like that should finish them. Nice shot. Didn't go through. Looks like that one went right through. We got him! Enemy armor is damaged. Nice shot! We're immobilized! We got him! Penetration! Enemy armor is damaged. Punched right through their armor. We got him! Critical hit! Enemy armor is damaged. The truck is damaged. They're hit. Enemy vehicle knocked out. Enemy armor is damaged. Enemy is hit. We nailed him bad. Enemy armor is damaged. Nice shot. Gotcha. Enemy vehicle destroyed.